Please be advised, viewer discretion is strongly recommended. None of the content presented here has been exaggerated or taken out of context. What you're about to hear includes the exact statements made by the prosecution team, the defense team, and the conclusion of testimony from Homeland Security Agent Joseph Cerciello as he wrapped up his time on the stand in the federal case against Sean Diddy Combs. Today's proceedings also included a fiery back and forth over key exhibits, a major Rule 29 motion by the defense, and the judge preparing both sides for closing arguments later this week. Some language has been censored to comply with YouTube's guidelines. This is a voiced-over reading of real testimony and exchanges, based on reporting from courtroom journalist Inner City Press on X.com. All parties are presumed innocent until proven guilty. Listen at your own discretion.
Today, Agent Cerciello is back on the stand to finish his cross-examination.
Good morning. Pull up 1406 from December 21st, 2021. Jane, Combs, Dawn, and Cabral. Turn off attorney's screens. We are going to watch some videos. Play from the beginning until 2 minutes and 22 seconds.
The public screens were turned off for this, so we didn't get to see the videos.
After watching the videos, they begin with questioning the witness.
So, what does she say here?
She writes, "That was so fucking sexy."
Then she writes, "I'm thinking about it," heart eyes emoji. Now Paul is in the chat, but your chart doesn't list Cabral's message with Jane. See 3,328. Now, it's December 21st, 2021. She reaches out to Cabral to say, "Happy New Year," writes, "LMK, if you want to come tonight." What does Cabral say?
He says, "I'm cooking for my family, but tomorrow for sure."
Not in your chart?
No, it's not.
Under Italian, let's see DX3050. This is April 4th of 2022, Combs with Jane. You read Mr. Combs.
Combs writes,
"I have been having crazy fantasies about Leo. You and Leo.
He writes,
Adderall is the greatest LOL."
She writes to him with drool face emoji, then in 1406, next is July 2022. You only reviewed what the government gave you, right?
Right.
Combs tells Paul to come over.
Yes.
Here Jane says,
"My place is free tonight."
Then she writes,
"I got on my knees and thanked God for the health of my child and for your friendship."
then heart emojis, right?
Right.
I'll correct you, it's Van Nuys. GX103, it's between Jane and Paul.
I don't memorize the exhibit numbers.
So, let's show it. This is a message between Mr. Paul Arthur and Mr. Combs, who says, "Staff is leaving." This is the first mention of Anton, right? October 8th, 2022.
Yes, he shows up.
And these photos? E285. Do you see the bracelet she is wearing?
I do.
Jane writes, "Can you come to Turks?" What does he say?
He says, "Yes, love, I have a passport but not vaccination."
She said, "Can you get an ATL?" A few days later, March 21st, 2023, she asks about Miami. Jane writes,
"Tonight was fun."
What does he say?
He says,
"Had a great time with you, baby."
Now, April 2023, Jane, Combs, and Paul. He says, "Hey, Jane's true name, I am available." And she asks about the 19th.
"Yes."
Jane says, "I'll reach out. How about P, Ital is available?" What does Combs respond?
Combs says, "Okay, you find location? You in the mood?"
Jane says,
"Didn't know you were unsatisfied. I stopped and got a couple more outfits."
Jane writes,
"I know what you like, Daddy. At the London before you left for NYC, you did a film. You forgot it. You promised you wouldn't forget it."
then smirky face, devil face,
"I'm coming, Daddy. That video you sent me was hot."
sweat emoji. Let's go back to GX1406, May 19th to 20th, 2023. Jane, Combs, Paul, and Cabral. What does Mr. Combs write?
He writes, "Is Chef still here?" She says, "No, LOL."
Pull up texts of the personal assistants.
I don't know who.
Ms. Coram writes, "For hotel they want fruit, outfits, shorts for him, size large, fruits and juices." She writes, "Are you hydrated? I'll be at one hotel, residential side. Hey hun, had a great time. Do you see that?"
Yes.
Here Jane writes to Mr. Combs, "I love you, can't wait to see you," with heart emojis. But now she writes, "Let's be positive. Remember how we turned it around at 1 star. right?
Right.
He says, "You got chef?" Jane says, "No."
Jane says, "You know I was trying for my chefy poo."
Jane writes, "Are you up to coming to LA? How much would it be to compensate for missing chef gig?"
He responds, "Sorry, love, I could have did it with enough heads up."
Mr. Combs writes, "Hurry up. She is at hotel, and she is horny as hell. Need help. LOL." Paul responds, "LOL, right?"
Right.
And Mr. Combs send Paul an image. Does it look like Shaq?
Yes.
At this point, they decided to take a break, and then they continued.
Back to 1406, Mr. Combs writes to Paul, "Security knows to let you in the back, right?" Combs says, "Just say P, not Paul." Jane writes, "Just to tell you I love you, listening to your music and making love with you, partay rosé, whatever we were saying." Back to 1406, August 12th, 2023. He writes, "Movie night was off the chain." She says, "So we try something new tonight?" He says, "Call Italian." She says, "One hotel roof, good for drinks and light bites. Smiley face, kiss face, right?"
Right. He says, "Baby, I'm stressed out."
She says, "I'm back to mommy mode." September 19th, 2023. That corresponds to many chats we looked at yesterday. Pull up 1407, not one by one. Go to page 48. I just want to highlight a few that I didn't think were in the chart. Combs writes, "Headed to ATL." Combs writes, "I can't even look. It will drive me crazy." Jane writes, "Muy caliente with a sweating face." That shit was different, all of it. That was September 24th, 2023.
Yes. This message says, "We had a great DAW.
Jane writes, "Daddy want to see mommy be bad tonight, right? Slide that D in me at the restaurant. No water. Emojis. Yes?"
Right.
She writes, "I'm going to blow your mind tonight. Can't wait to lick your
Right.
Jane send more emojis drool. She writes, "It's sexy here in the hotel. Yeah, we need to run to the freak store. Let's skip ahead to 55. She writes, "I didn't have time to do my nails." And he says,
He writes, "I love it."
let's just quickly look at, this is just Jane and Combs.
Correct.
September 30th, Jane writes, "I love you, baby. Have a great show." This, I won't repeat here, there, no location entries until February 8th, 2024. Christina Coram asks Jonathan Perez, "How does he look? You could put him in front of someone, but he just took a full bar, so I think he'll be asleep soon." Now, can we turn off the public screen? Here you have flight records for Jane going from LA to Miami 5 days before Combs posts Instagram video, right?
Right.
Now, a phone call from Anton to Jane, 0 seconds. What does that mean?
The clock starts at ringing.
We don't have the public screens on, so play this video.
The audio sounded like this.
Beautiful day like this, a bass playing.
That was June 2024, right?
Right.
Let's play more video. We'll hear the music. Now play the entire video. Now, in this one, let's jump ahead to minute 7 and 8. Now, minute 19. Almost done. Please stop it here. Do you see the message from Jane? I have the best memories. I have just a few to asking about 1409, but bring up 1408. Do you see account transfer of $22,000?
Yes.
In 1409, it was Jane Fuentes Transportation. Do you see that it has $151.99 for Jane's true name and also Cabral Williams? It's hard for me to see the lines. Can you move the cursor up? $324.50 and $760.25.
Meanwhile, Sean Combs passes a note to Nicole Westmoreland, seated at his right, who then whispers in Agnafilo, Diddy's lawyer's ear.
Let's go to page 96, Sean Combs' personal bank account records, total due $74,000. There's an account transfer to the LCC.
Yes.
Your Honor, can I have a moment? One more video, and then we're done. The one that wasn't working this morning. Turn off the attorney screens. You reviewed the metadata dash.
Which chart?
That's a great question. Play it. Thank you, Agent. Please go back to keeping New York City safe.
At this point, the judge asks the prosecution if they want to redirect this witness, and they say,
Briefly, did we just see Sean Combs paying for the travel of Cabral Williams from Atlanta to Florida, across state lines?
At this point, the defense raises an objection.
Do the charts represent every text message in this case?
Number
Let's pull up message before this date.
At that point, the defense objected, saying the prosecutor's question went beyond what was allowed. The prosecutor fired back, claiming the defense did the same earlier. So the judge called for a sidebar to sort it out privately. And then they continued.
In this time frame, did you see any messages between Jane and Mr. Combs that were sexual or affectionate in nature? No further questions.
The judge asked if the prosecution was ready to rest their case. The AUSA responded vaguely, saying, subject to, likely meaning they had a few loose ends. The judge then told the jurors to take a break, and they left the courtroom. And then the prosecutor explains to the judge,
We have essentially rested. We only may want to move for a few corrections.
The judge turned to the defense and asked, Mr. Agnifilo, are you ready to move? Combs' attorney, Alexandra Shapiro, responded by making a Rule 29 motion, basically arguing that the government didn't present enough evidence for the case to go to the jury. She claimed the RICO charges don't hold up, saying there was no clear agreement to commit racketeering, and that the so-called enterprise was just a loose group of individuals, not a structured criminal organization, and then continued to say the following.
But before we get into it,
Don't worry if you don't understand everything that is being said. We will summarize it in an easy-to-understand way at the end of the Rule 29 motion. Hear the rest of what Combs' lawyer had to say.
There is insufficient proof to establish this 20-year-long conspiracy. Mr. Combs did not conspire with any other person. They say, an inner circle of bodyguards. But they failed to show it. There's only thin proof they engaged in crimes. At most, these were personal quantities of drugs. They used a lot of Astroglide and baby oil and drank, maybe some drugs. Jonathan Perez said hotel nights were personal time with a female. Brendan Paul said hotel for the night. David James said he saw a naked man in the hotel room, but thought that wasn't part of his job. The sex with Cassie Ventura and Jane sometimes involved third parties, but they were not booked by staff. It brought them closer to Combs. Jane said to Cabral Williams, "Don't want team to intercept you." And in May, Jane said she had to wait for the assistants to clear out. When KK and the guards learned of Mr. Combs' violence to Cassie Ventura, it's not racketeering, they did not help. There's no proof that KK knew or thought these women were being coerced. She did damage control. There is evidence that Mr. Combs was lying to her. KK is supposed to be the main co-conspirator, but she only appears in March 2016, 12 years in. There is no evidence between the breakup with Cassie in 2018 and the beginning with Jane in 2021. Even for a RICO conspiracy, they have to prove a single agreement. It hasn't been done here. Even if the court denied this Rule 29 motion, some should not go to the jury. Under the California law, the government had to show that the information was about to be given to law enforcement. Back in April, you found lack of probable cause.
Here, the defense basically said, even if the judge denies our Rule 29 motion, some of these charges shouldn't even go to the jury. They pointed out that under California law, the government needed to prove the info was about to be reported to the police, and the judge had already ruled back in April that there wasn't enough probable cause for that.
Mr. Combs was seeking to avoid negative publicity for both himself and Ms. Ventura. There was no police involvement. The guard who testified said Ms. Ventura did not want to report it. Ms. Ventura said the same thing, as did Carrie Morgan. Eddie Garcia said the money was for the video, nothing more. Ms. Ventura appeared on FaceTime and said she had a movie coming out and did not want this video coming out. The NDA permitted Garcia to report to law enforcement. This is about D-Rock trying to get Mia to speak with Combs, but it sounds like a normal conversation until her radar went off. No threats were communicated. All D-Rock said was Puff wanted to talk with Mia. They wanted her to say something. Her reactions could not have been foreseeable to D-Rock or Mr. Combs. She did not even answer Mr. Combs' calls later that day. D-Rock didn't bring up money, she did. She said she was out of dollars. D-Rock never acted on it. D-Rock said, if you don't want to, all good. The prosecutors characterized these as nice messages. There was no evidence D-Rock or Mr. Combs thought Mia felt threatened. So, this is not witness tampering. There would have to be proof Mr. Combs knew of a federal investigation at that time. There is none. With respect to Jane, they have November 19th, 2023, no threats. Mr. Combs said, "This is when I need you to be there for me." Mr. Combs was already paying Jane's rent. There was nothing in the call about it. This is not corrupt persuasion. There's no federal nexus. Now they want to argue 1591D. That would be a constructive amendment, as we'll say at the charge conference. Anyway, we think that statute is unconstitutional. On forced labor, the statute was meant to enforce the 13th Amendment. It is used for domestic workers, here legally or nor, forced to work, squalid conditions. These are able-bodied USA citizens perfectly capable of leaving. When they wanted to leave, they did. What the two were most afraid of was losing their job. With respect for Capricorn Clark, she continued to work to show she hadn't stolen it. Not being paid overtime is not forced labor. Capricorn Clark said Mr. Combs told her to get the fuck out of my house. She says that was crossing my boundaries. She got a higher paid job. She alleged wrongful termination, presumably because she wanted to stay. Then 50 Cent. With respect to Mia, she had a high GPA. She got her later job with Madonna. So the elements are not met with them either. On kidnapping, there is insufficient evidence as to 2 of the 3 allegations, even if you credit the U.S. witnesses. Capricorn Clark and the lie detector test. Uncle Paulie took her to the building. This does not satisfy New York law. Mr. Combs didn't know. She went willingly every day. The other, Cassie at the London hotel, she says she was taken there and held there for several days. California law has 4 elements, not met here. On arson of Kid Cutie's car, no evidence Mr. Combs was involved. On count 2, Mr. Combs would have to know. I'll focus on his mens rea. It's about what he understood. How could he understand? Cassie said she did the freak-offs to make Mr. Combs happy. She didn't communicate reluctance. Look at the texts. In the Intercontinental, the fight happened after the night of sex, and there was no sex after the violence. The video seemed to show that Mr. Combs, after he gets the cell phone, just sits in the chair in the elevator lobby, so no mens rea. As to Jane, she engaged in sex for economic benefit, for example, the house. There was only one incident of violence, which I'll get to. The fraud theory is deficient as a matter of law. Turk's trip ultimately happened. She wanted to go out to dinner. This would sweep in a lot of romantic partner. It has vagueness problems. People do this all the time. It's not fraud. Immigrants being tricked into sex for green cards is different. He's a wealthy individual but won't take her on a yacht. They never alleged sex trafficking of Jane until they found out she was alleging a circle incident of assault. That is telling. This theory of fraud is incredibly weak. The fight at Jane's house in L.A., this single act is not sufficient. There's no evidence that escort came from outside of California. Escorts were paid for their time. Both witnesses said they were not prostitutes Phillips and Hayes. They were called entertainers, or escorts. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, so here's what the defense is saying in plain terms. They're arguing that there's simply not enough solid evidence to prove Diddy was involved in a 20-year-long criminal conspiracy. They say most of what's being described, the parties, the drugs, the hotel encounters, were personal situations, not organized crimes. They also point out that many of the key witnesses weren't forced or trapped, and there's no proof that staff or alleged co-conspirators actually knew about, helped with, or agreed to commit any crimes. When it comes to serious charges like witness tampering, forced labor, or sex trafficking, the defense says things like, there were no threats. People could leave if they wanted. Most of what happened sounds like bad relationships, not federal crimes. They even say that some of the legal theories the government is using are too vague, don't apply, or might even be unconstitutional in this context. Bottom line, the defense is asking the judge to throw out some or all of the charges before the jury gets them, claiming the government's case just doesn't hold up. At this point, the judge turned to the prosecution and simply asked, "Government?" The federal prosecutor responded confidently, saying there's more than enough evidence to go to the jury, but added that the judge can reserve, which means the judge can hold off on deciding the Rule 29 motion and let the trial continue for now. Right after that, the federal prosecutor brought up that the defendant, Sean Combs, should be allocuted. That means the judge needs to personally ask Combs if he understands his rights and whether he wants to testify or stay silent, so it's officially on record.
Mr. Combs, how are you feeling?
I'm doing great. I wanted to say thank you. You're doing an excellent job.
Do you understand that whether to testify or not is up to you? Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
It is your decision not to testify?
Yes, it is my decision. solely my decision with my lawyers.
Thank you. Shall we take time to allow stipulations?
Yes.
Now the defense case.
We enter into evidence this stipulation about devices provided to the government by Cassandra Ventura. Mr. McLeod, DX1402. Can you highlight row 5? Highlight, local use. I'm the luckiest woman in the world. I'll get all the pictures together this week. So many good ones. Local user, I owe you a good night if you want me to call someone. I need to treat my pop better. I promise I will be better. If I don't, you can leave me, but that won't happen. Local user, Cassie, I love you and thank you for always trying with me. I will be a woman, not a child. I'm leaving that in 2012. Now, pull up 1402, row 66, February 14 to 16, 2017, DX1417A. From Violet to Cassandra Ventura, teamwork makes the dream work. Mr. Combs writes, you think you can FO without getting high? Cassie says yes, smiley face. Now, 11:36. R, blow up the first couple of bubbles. Cassie writes, send me a D pic. Ms. Ventura writes, I just bought baby oil at the store because I couldn't help myself. Then, I'm proud of us. We've been together for a long time. Baby, you do make me happy. I looked at my bracelet and it made me smile. Cassie writes, you are my best friend, CC, and this message was sent May 30th, 2017. I will read this about Daniel Phillip. He was told to sit on the couch while Combs took his turn with Cassie. He felt jealous. In October 2024 and April and May 2025 dawn, Richard met with law enforcement. The notes do not reflect Mr. Combs telling her where he comes from. People go missing. As to Hayes, he stated that he began to have feelings for Ventura. As to Capricorn Clark, notes from the first 11 of her 13 interviews with law enforcement and AUSAs did not mention a call made near Scott Mascuti's car in L.A. The first of Mia's interviews do not indicate that Mr. Combs initiated sex with Mia. Bangalan did not initially say Mr. Combs told her, I could kill you, at a photo shoot. 3228 was not admitted. It was 3288, and we may have more. The defense rests.
And that was it for today in court. The government confirmed they won't be calling a rebuttal witness, and the judge dismissed the jury until Thursday, when closing arguments are set to begin. Both sides agreed to go until 5 p.m. on Thursday and Friday, which means we're officially heading into the final stretch of the Diddy trial. So now the big question is, what will the jury decide? Do you think Diddy will walk away free, or will the verdict change everything? Drop your predictions in the comments below. And if you want full coverage of the closing arguments, jury deliberations, and the final verdict, be sure to like, subscribe, and turn on that notification bell. You won't want to miss what happens next. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next update.